Now, but you know, oil seems like it's finding a bottom here, and that might be because of this global financial correction. Take a listen, for instance, Saudi Arabia. These are just some of the things they've done. Their foreign exchange is $661 billion. It was $700 billion, almost $750 billion not long ago. They just raised $24 billion in the bond market. They pulled $70 billion from asset managers. Meanwhile, Qatar just now reporting stock market losses of $12 billion. They own Volkswagen and Glencore. And Norway saw their first quarterly loss in 3 years, nearly $9 billion. So maybe the easiest way for these guys to make the money, manipulate oil back above $50, even $60. Joining me now is Phil Flynn, Fox Business Contributor, and Christian Whiton. Phil, is it far-fetched to say that some of these things that maybe Saudi Arabia didn't think about when they launched this war, by the way, a very successful war against America, fracking, might force them to maybe make some changes here?
I think it is. We're getting close to this point. You know, if you think this is a price war, they're taking heavy casualties. And those numbers that you're talking about are serious things. And at the bottom line is, if the U.S. shale producers don't totally roll over here, I think OPEC's going to have to get to the point where they're going to have to cut production, get those prices up. And I think it's going to happen sooner than a lot of people think. You
know, Christian, the battle in Yemen, I think, like all of these Middle East skirmishes, gone on a lot longer than the experts said it would, becoming very, very expensive, building that giant wall to keep ISIS out. All of these things factor into this.
It does. And of course, there are ramifications elsewhere in the region. You have a lot of aid that goes from Saudi Arabia and the UAE to Egypt to shore up the government there. And Egypt reportedly has been told that they're going to have to expect a decrease in allowance. I think a lot of people in the region aren't convinced that there's a bottom. OPEC has basically concluded that they can't control prices by constraining or by constraining supply. That combined with a glut of supply over here. I mean, you have producers here that are just going to produce because some revenue is better than no revenue, even though the price is low. And don't forget that oil is influenced by the value of the dollar. Even oil that never touches U.S. shores is traded in dollars. And even though the increase in interest rates is going to be minor, that minor increase will create some altitude for the dollar above the yen, above the euro, and that will be reflected in lower oil prices.
And that gets us back, Phil, to the notion that still a lot of people out there saying a 3-handle, a 2-handle. How possible is that?
I think it's very unlikely. And I think the mindset of what your other guest just said is really starting to change a little bit. We are seeing the biggest cutbacks in U.S. production since the late 1980s. We are going to see production drop in this country maybe over 1 million barrels a day by the end of this year, maybe more. And this perception that all these producers are going to produce no matter what the price is, that's not going to happen because a lot of these guys may be bankrupt next month. We're going to see a major, major cutback. So I think people are going to be shocked how quickly U.S. production falls and what impact it might have on prices.
And to your point, Phil, right after the bell, Chesapeake announced another major round of layoffs. You know, I got to be honest with you. I'm really worried about some of these names I thought were impregnable on the fracking side and the Permian and Bakken. A lot of them are looking weak here. So, Christian, maybe we may actually have a big offset to Iranian oil and the supply and demand dynamics you talked about.
Maybe, but bankrupt companies still have assets, and people want returns on those assets, or at least something to give to a debt provider to keep them at bay. Also, you have Russia in real pain, but really looking to sell anything, anywhere. You have Iran coming back online with sanctions relief, Iraq kind of chugging along, and just all of this global supply. You know, the one, I guess, silver lining would be for the bulls is that China's economy, I think, is not as bad. I wish it were, frankly. I'd like them to have some geopolitical problems, but it's not as bad as their stock market would indicate.
Let's leave it there. Thank you both very, very much.